Got any other questions?
So when you work with any type of powders, you don't have to thoroughly mix it. That's what the machine will do. It'll do a great job of doing it for you. So we're just getting it wet, just enough to kind of get it all moist and whatnot so the machine can do the rest of the work.
You dump the powder straight into the machine, or you recommend mixing it first?
You can. One, it makes a little bit of a mess. It's a powder. Powder goes poof, just like you saw. And then you don't want to risk any type of big clumps that might get dumped into there, so it's just easier if you just kind of at least get it mixed beforehand. So always check your gate is closed. We're going to open, and we're going to hold high for a long pour.
Ooh.
She is good at that.
Yeah.
You learn to get really good at it over time.
What size machine is that one?
This is a 6-quart. It does 1.5 gallons per batch. All right, so we still have to add coffee, and what else does it say? The Heath pieces, right?
Yes, and vanilla.
And
My
vanilla.
Heath pieces. My
No.
Heath bar pieces.
So with this, there's my scissors. Here we are. I don't like to turn the machine on, just let it sit and hang out for too long. So we're going to get everything ready to go. Now the thing with coffee, you saw that I measured the chocolate by weight and the coffee is by volume. This coffee is freeze dried. So when you do try to measure it by weight, you're going to probably have to have 25 of these because it is just so, there's nothing to it. So it says 5 ounces, right? So we're going to go by volume. Okay. So we're going to do the make ice cream. Now we're making gelato. So when Jeff was running his, he was doing it on homemade, which is 234 RPMs. Gelato I set at 140, I believe. Yes, 140. So that means it's going at 140 revolutions per minute. The slower the machine runs, the more thick and dense your ice cream or product will be. The faster it runs, the more air it's putting into your product. So by law, you cannot make anything more than 100% overrun. You can't make 120, you can't make 150. So 100% is whatever you put in, you're going to get it double back out. Because you can add inclusions, you're going to get a little bit more than double when you extract your product. Yes?
Sorry, you said by law you can't what?
You can't run more than 100% overrun. I don't know why, but that's just the law. You can't double more than what you're making. You could. Nobody's going to measure your overrun, come in for ice cream or anything like that, but let's just not do it. It's not going to make for a good creamy ice cream anyways. So we are going to hit start. We're going to dump in our coffee, kind of like that, spitting back out. All right, let's use Steve's vanilla. I don't need to measure. Huh? Yeah. So we're just gonna do a splash. That's good enough.
Homemade.
Now Heath pieces. So we are going to go ahead and turn on our refrigeration and get this freezing. I'm going to wait probably about a minute, let it get a little bit firmer in there before I go and dump my Heath pieces in. That way it'll help keep it suspended. The smaller models, you kind of want to get a little bit quick when you go to pour in your inclusions versus the larger models, you have a lot more space to do so. You could go 3, 4, 5 minutes into it probably without worrying about dumping in your extra product. So when you start the refrigeration, we have a timer that starts here for you. It's not going to tell you when it's done. It's not going to shut off. It's just to kind of help you with your timing of your batches. Oh, I'm 8 minutes in. Your very first batch of the day will always take longer than the rest of your batches because your cylinder is warm. It's a fresh startup. So if you're timing your batches, run your first one, then do your second one, and that's going to be your true batch time. So we're about at a minute right now, so we're going to add our Heath pieces. These are pretty small bags, so I got 2. I might not need the second one. You can do anything that you like to make this crunch. Keith toffee pieces are amazing for almost the crunch with anything. They blend in with almost anything you want to make. It's a great little secret to know about the toffee bits. There's big bulk companies that you can buy in big bulk versus going to the supermarket and buying it in little bags in small quantities. In your packet, there are some other places like Damon's Dairy. If you go to our website, Key Suppliers page, there's a whole list of companies that you can buy from as well in big bulk. There's Webstaurant store, if any of you are familiar with that.
25-pound boxes.
Yeah, you can get in 25-pound boxes. You can freeze it. Freezers are your friend in the ice cream industry. Anything you can buy, cookies, mint chips, holiday sales with stuff going on sale, buy it in bulk and freeze it. Freezers are definitely your friend. So we were talking about high sugar content and freeze times earlier. So the more sugar you add, the longer it's going to take to freeze. We added chocolate, that's sugar. We added vanilla, that's alcohol and a sugar. We added some Heath chips, that's sugar. So we added sugar, 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 and then plus the dairy mix contains sugar as well. And it's our first batch, so we're gonna look at a little bit of a higher freeze time. So we're probably looking around 12, 13 minutes. Any questions?
You left some residue on your cocoa. Does that make any difference?
I left residue in here, does it? No. We added so much of it, it's not gonna really make a difference. The thing with cocoa powder too as well, if you add too much cocoa powder into your ice cream, when you go to scoop it, you're gonna notice it's gonna be a little bit flaky. That's when you have a sign of it's too cold, which is kind of really hard if you're working with chocolate because it's very, very high in sugar. And then the other one is you added too much powder. So just kind of cut back on that. So sticking around anywhere from 6 to 8 ounces for just 3.5, 4 quarts is always really good.
I have a philosophy with ice cream. And to me, it's all about the ice cream. I don't care what color it is. I don't care how it looks. I don't care about anything but the taste. That's what I care about. So that's how I do everything. Because and in my stores, no toppings, no mixing flavors, no cones. You get ice cream in a cup because it's all about the ice cream. Let me tell you something. When you do this project, whatever level you're going to go to, you will make the world's best ice cream. Forget Ben & Jerry's, forget Haagen-Dazs, forget any of them. Your ice cream's better. Did you taste how creamy that ice cream was? And that's 10% mix. Haagen-Dazs uses 16% mix, butterfat. So with a 10% mix, I can make the ice cream so creamy. And whether you taste what she's making by lowering the speed, it's still a 10%. By law, she can't sell that as gelato because by law, gelato is 6 to 8% butterfat, which is much reduced. But because you're churning it at such a slower speed, it gets thick and creamy. So anything I do in this business is all about the ice cream. That's it. It's all I care about. A lot of people add color. When I make my pistachio, it's white. When I make everything else, it's pretty much beige like this because I don't add color. I don't use artificial flavors. I don't use extracts. So that's just me. I want our ice creams to taste like when we were kids. When I was a kid. That's it. Yes, sir.
Do you market that as part of your product, or do you just, when the customers come in, say,
You don't have to because it's so good. You know, marketing is my field. That's what I'm good at. And you don't have to do it. Your very first person that comes into your store, let me know when you need me to stop talking. The very first person that comes into your store is your first salesman. And after the first day, you'll have 60 people your first day. There's 60 people going out into the world telling everybody about this unbelievable ice cream. Now, the guy's a real hard, he's not a nice guy. He won't mix flavors. There's no sprinkles, no hot fudge. I can't even get a damn cone. But the ice cream is unbelievable. So that's my aim. And you don't have to do that. I mean, the stores that I've started and now turned over to people, they sell cones, they mix flavors, they have different sizes. I had one size. They have different sizes. They have sprinkles, they have hot fudge, they make their own cones which smell delicious. It's just that's what you want to do. And that's fine, as long as that ice cream is the world's best ice cream, and it will be. This is amazing, this ice cream. I mean, you go to the store and buy ice creams, nothing like what you're going to make.
I know you said that you put most of your ingredients in there versus like on like a very good at the end. Do you find that anything's falling apart? So like with the Reese's cup, do you feel like it gets just turned into an absolute mush in there? Or is it you're putting it late enough that it doesn't matter?
Well, that's an interesting point. I like an absolute mush.
Okay.
I like when you for instance, my M&M ice cream, which you'll all make because it's #1 seller. It'll never go out of style. It has little pieces of M&Ms in there. And because I grind them up, I also add chocolate chips because that's what M&Ms are without the coating. So I throw in a bag of chocolate chips. So what you're getting is, as far as texture, you're getting that smooth, delicious ice cream with tons of flavor, but you're also getting a little bonus. And that's what those Heath bars would have been in my first ice cream, a little bonus.
So we're going to do a cutoff check. Right now we're at almost pushing 11 minutes. This is what I was talking about before with the cutoff. So it's going to pour. It's going to have a good little puddling, peaking, whichever. So let's see. Not quite for me. I'm going to go probably another couple more minutes as we discussed, probably about 12, 13 minutes. Even if I shut off the refrigeration, it's still going to freeze for a little bit. But we added a lot of sugar in here. Chocolate is the #1 thing that's always going to take longer to freeze. Any other questions on that?
Sugar in all its forms takes longer to freeze,
Yes.
whether it's alcohol or honey or caramel or dulce de leche. It's all sugar, and it takes longer to firm up.
Yes.
So, when you're making ice cream, does your altitude have any effect on
Does my what?
the altitude that you're? We live at almost 9,000 feet. Does that affect how the ice cream?
I personally, so she asked, does the altitude affect the integrity of the ice cream? I personally haven't heard anything on that. I know we have a ton of customers up north or up in the mountains, Colorado. I've never heard anything on that. I don't feel like I'm educated enough to answer that question. I'm going to say no, only because I haven't heard anything from anybody. Nobody's ever said, hey, your formula doesn't work because of my altitude. The only thing that I have heard from is butterfats. So we run with a 10% here. So whatever formulas you see that we use is always based on 10%. That's what's in the book too as well. So if you start working with higher butterfats, 12, not going to really make a difference. But once you hit that 14, 16, 18, these formulas that you loved here and you tasted today, and you run an 18% butterfat, it's going to taste very bland. It's going to taste very diluted. So you're going to have to increase your amounts with the higher butterfat that you work with because it's that fat absorbing all that flavor. So we're pushing 13 minutes.
Easy to what?
Huh? Yeah, what do you think? Good? Good? One more? Let's see. No, that was a psych, wasn't it?
What's creamier?
So working with gelato too, if you run it on that setting, so we talked about how it's a 6-quart batch freezer. That is what it's capable of producing. So if you put in 3.5, you're going to get 6.5, 7-ish quarts put back out of it. If you put in 3, you're going to get 6, 6.5 out. That's at homemade setting. But because we ran it as gelato, we're not going to get that full 6 quarts because we run it at a slower speed, which means less air, so it's going to be more dense. Did you have a question? Oh, I thought you were raising your hand. All right, well, let's give it another cutoff.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to call it good to go. So I'm going to swap my pans. All right, we're going to shut off our refrigeration. Here we go. And just because, so I can rub it in Jeff's face.